Welcome to Shaftman TV. We've got a bit of a special report on new Manchester United interim manager Ralf Rangnick. So it always seems unlikely that a maverick such as Rangnick could end up at an establishment club like Man United or Real Madrid, where global superstars tend to play and where coaching recruitment is somewhat more conservative. Rangnick is a genuine football visionary, but his appointment is akin to chucking a hand grenade in a room and seeing where the subsequent explosion shakes up the room. A bit more like appointing Elon Musk to actually run Ford. Someone who knows him well in football and who greatly admires Rangnick said, "It will be great for the young lads at Manchester United. That is a given." Jadon Sancho, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood and Diogo Dalot may not quite know what has hit them, but they will become better players and probably appreciative. But Ronaldo, I don't know. Rangnick is a pressing manager, said his friend, referring to this style of play. At Manchester United aren't a pressing team. This will be great to watch, but it could be a disaster, not because of him, but because of the dressing room. After 8 years of asking just how did Manchester United replace Sir Alex Ferguson, Avram Glazer and Ed Woodward have decided the answer is Rangnick. But he is a more disruptive Silicon Valley tech guy than the JP Morgan alumni and Bristol University graduate who currently make up the Manchester United executive team. If United is serious and have given him the keys to the car, they should strap themselves in as they face one hell of a ride. The occasion of Rangnick's certainty about Ronaldo was a 90-minute meeting at RB Leipzig when he was the sporting director. To contextualise, signing Ronaldo would have been genuinely silly for a club like that. However, apart from a brief time at Schalke where he won his only major trophy, the German Cup, Rangnick has only worked for clubs like that, unfancied minnows, receptive to his all-or-nothing hands-on philosophy where he could mould younger, unproven talent. When he was at Leipzig, he was big in Germany, but globally, it was more of a niche obsession. He certainly wasn't Guardiola or Klopp. To be honest, it was a hard sell back in the UK, and he was interviewed for the England job. Dan Ashworth, the FA sporting director, wanted to give him the West Brom job in 2012, but Rangnick declined because Ashworth was moving to the FA. When Roy Hodgson left as England manager in 2016, Ashford wanted him to lead the current team. David Gill, the Manchester United chief executive, who leans heavily on Sir Alex Ferguson for advice, and the FA's chief executive Martin Glenn both wanted Sam Allardyce, so Ashton was voted down. English football preferred to stick to its own. Now that Rangnick lacks his own brand of conservatism, Rashford may be nervously checking out his tattoos in the morning. When he was asked about his policy of not signing players with tattoos, Rangnick said, "If I said it's a coincidence, it's not quite the truth. For the style of football we play, we need team players. We don't need players who, after they score, the only thing they're interested in is pointing at their name or celebrating with themselves in front of supporters. They should at least celebrate with the guy who gave the assist. Of course, this is not necessarily to do with tattoos, but then we need to discuss why do people have tattoos all over their body. It's got to do with being exceptional and trying to attract attention. I'm not asking a player before we meet, show me your body where you have any tattoos. Maybe some of them have tattoos. At least they don't have them where you can see it everywhere." When the billionaire owner of Red Bull, Austrian Dietrich Mateschitz, called him in 2011 to ask why his football club was failing, Rangnick took the call at his home in Stuttgart at a time when he was enjoying a career sabbatical and, as such, he politely declined the offer to coach Red Bull Salzburg. But he wouldn't take no for an answer. "I'll be there in an hour," he said. Rangnick was curious as to how he would make it from Salzburg to his home in Backnang, southwest Germany so fast, given that it's a 4-hour car journey at best. "I will come by helicopter," he said. Rangnick inspires that kind of devotion. Surely, another billionaire, Dietmar Hopp, founder of the SAP software, who was then 65, had called him in 2006 to ask him whether he could take his village team, Hoffenheim, population of 3,000, and playing third-tier football into the Bundesliga before his 70th birthday. Rangnick said he would, but he would do it in 3 years. Self-doubt will not be an issue for the new man at Old Trafford. He was as good as his word, signing unknown players like Demba Ba and taking them to the top of Bundesliga. By 2012, having been wooed, he would eventually be persuaded to take on a sporting director role at Red Bull Salzburg and RB Leipzig. But when the Austrian team were knocked out of the Champions League qualifier by Luxembourg F91 in his first game, the owners told him, "I didn't need to hire you Germans to do this badly. I could have managed that on my own." Rangnick had installed Roger Schmidt as manager and signed an obscure Senegalese player, Sadio Mane, from Metz. The team didn't win the title that year, but have won it every year since 2014. Meanwhile, RB Leipzig rose from being a fourth-tier amateur club to making the Champions League semi-final in 2020. And if you want to recruit an obscure yet super talented young player, which is the hardest thing to do in football, the chances are that Red Bull's scouting system are ahead of you. Mane, Erling Haaland, Naby Keita, Dayton Upamecano, Timo Werner are all signed early and cheap by the Red Bull clubs. They looked at Joe Gomez when he was 17, Callum Wilson when he was at Coventry, and were in discussions with Jamie Vardy's agent when he was still playing at non-league Fleetwood. At 25, Rangnick considered him too old. Rangnick continues, back in 2012, Red Bull Salzburg had a squad with an average age of almost 30, by far the oldest in the league. Quite a few had come from Bayern Munich, who didn't get new contracts there, but could get another 3 years at Salzburg. They had players signing the last contract of their career. From my experience, it's better if you sign players in their first or maximum second contract of their career. Before 2012, players were at Salzburg and Leipzig because they were nice cities to live in and you knew the club wouldn't go bankrupt, but nothing to do with development of football. So we changed this completely and had an average age of 23.5, the youngest team in the league and the most inexperienced, but everyone is completely hungry. They want to improve, they want to win. Rangnick may be considered a visionary, but rather like Marcelo Bielsa, he has a habit of falling out with people who wish to compromise his vision. He does, however, share an idol with Man City coach Guardiola. When I was a young boy, I was urging my coach, let me play with 14, and the coach said, but then you're a sub. And I would say, no, let me play from the start with 14 because it's Johan Cruyff's number. Johan was the first modern number 10. He scored goals, he gave assists, and not in the same way we expect, but if he was in the mood, he could take part in winning the ball back. He was not like Gunter or other number 10s. If you can imagine what it was like for a 16-year-old German boy in 1974 to idolise Cruyff, you begin to get to the nub of the iconoclast. Rangnick was a mediocre player, a trait he shares in common with Stuttgart's school of coaches which now dominate the Premier League, led by himself, Klopp, Tuchel, Julian Nagelsmann, another protege at Bayern Munich. It was Tuchel's good fortune to fall under his mentorship while a third division player at It was Tuchel's misfortune to be injured, just as Rangnick was proving his football genius. Rangnick's big idea was to abandon man marking, to stop playing a back three, which was common in Germany. When Rangnick's playing career had finally exhausted the limits of his talent, pretty much by the time he was 25, he turned out for his hometown team Viktoria Bangdag, a non-league German team who, by chance, played mid-winter friendly in 1984 against Dynamo Kiev against coach Valery Labanovsky. If the likes of Bielsa and Rangnick have been hailed as the fathers of modern football, then Labanovsky and AC Milan's Arrigo Sacchi were the grandfathers of what we see today. Rangnick was both perplexed and fascinated by Lobanovsky's zonal marking and pressing system. It was this tactical light bulb moment that saw Rangnick's star rise as he climbed from the third tier of the Bundesliga with Ulm. That earned him the Stuttgart job, but also lumbered him with the sarcastic Professor nickname. He won the Intertoto Cup with Stuttgart, then repeated his Bundesliga promotion trip with Hannover 96 before moving to Schalke, the third biggest team in Germany, where he was popular with the fans but fell out with the board. He was recuperating in Bagnit when the call came from Hopp, but he left Hoffenheim when they decided to sell their star striker Luis Gustavo to Bayern Munich, where he wanted to push for the title, having finished 7th. It was during that period that Klopp, in the early difficult days of Bayern Munich, told his players that Rangnick's team were the gold standard after they lost 4-1 to Hoffenheim in 2008. Rangnick now has to get to where Klopp is and to match his old apprentice Tuchel